Welcome to the Sonic Screwcast, where the Lorehounds, your guides to all of time and space. I'm John.
And I'm Alicia, and this is our coverage of the BBC and Disney Plus series, Doctor Who.
In this episode, we'll be discussing the 360th anniversary special starring David Tennant and Catherine Tate, as well as our hopes for the future of Who.
While we enjoy discussing the show amongst ourselves, we also want to hear from you. Please send us an email to lorehounds@thelorehounds.com or visit our website at thelorehounds.com/contact and either use the contact form or use the built-in voicemail. Lastly, you can join us in our Discord server. We have a fun and welcoming community and dedicated channel for Whovian conversations. Link in the show notes below.
If you're enjoying this or any of our other many podcasts, please give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. These help other listeners find us amongst all of the different rooms of the TARDIS, for which there are increasingly large amounts of. Stick around to the end of the podcast for programming notes for us and our two affiliates, Properly Howard Movie Reviews and Alicia's Will Shift Dust podcast. Also, consider subscribing to our Patreon. For as little as $3 a month, you can get ad-free episodes and much more. Patreon is a great way to help support us through fickle ad revenues.
And we're also excited to welcome a guest this week. So we've brought in a ringer, since clearly neither of us have the right accent. We've brought in my friend and my Who mentor, Simon Wolcott. Simon, welcome to the Lorehounds.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Wow, what an intro. Okay.
True story.
Lovely to have you here, Simon.
Yeah.
We're really excited to discuss this with someone, as Alicia said, with the credentials. I think this is going to be a great conversation all around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to start out by just talking about our personal backgrounds in Who. So for me, I basically just got into the new era. You know, it was something I'd obviously heard of the show. I grew up in the US, so it wasn't like a big deal. It was present in the, national psyche a bit. But it wasn't until like well into probably almost to Matt Smith's run that I started to watch and catch up. And I've been watching it ever since. And cool. Simon, you have a much longer history, obviously.
Yeah, well, obviously, being a Brit, I'm actually from the UK. In the UK, Doctor Who is kind of, you could almost say it's, as with humour and warm beer, it's part of our national character. It's been around forever. Well, we know actually it's been around for 60 years, as it is the 60th anniversary. Right. So in the UK, most people growing up have watched Doctor Who at one time or another. And of course, I think the vast majority of people drift in and drift out of it. I mean, my first Doctor was actually, I'm so old, my very first Doctor was the third Doctor. The third actor to play the role was Jon Pertwee. So
I just watched those episodes last night.
Okay. He was very suave and debonair and awfully English public school, right? He was
very stern.
He had that vibe about him, but he was actually my first Doctor. But interestingly, I watched, I believe, some episodes of the last series he ever did, and then my first ever regeneration was Jon Pertwee turning into Tom Baker, and I can remember that so clearly. It was many, many years ago. I can remember that so clearly because it was a real, wow, it was a real shock, because there was an episode where I believe he was bitten by a giant spider, and then he fell on the floor, and then I remember at the time thinking, oh my God, he's going to die, and then he changed.
He did die, yeah.
He regenerated. He did die. He regenerated and became Tom Baker. So.
Were you not aware that the regeneration was even a possibility at this point?
No,
okay.
At this point, no, I was a kid. At this point, I must have been
interesting.
Five or six at that time. So I had no idea. Doctor Who was just, for me, something I knew. Doctor Who was just something I knew because of the Daleks, and I knew it was a sci-fi, and it was just a show that a lot of kids watched. But of course, at that point in time, I had no idea about the concept, where he was from. I knew he had the TARDIS, I knew the police box, and I knew he had the TARDIS, but the mythology that's built up around Doctor Who and things like the regeneration, no, that was, so I think for a lot of kids, when you first see that, it was really a big deal. It was quite surprising because suddenly, and you can imagine it was the BBC in the 70s, and Doctor Who in those days really didn't have a very large budget, but it was still kind of mind blowing to see a regeneration. They probably used stop frame photography and mixed it somehow, but it was quite amazing that he went from this grey haired, white haired guy into this young guy with huge black curly hair. Tom Baker was really my Doctor, and then he regenerated into Peter Davison, which became the fifth Doctor. And I watched. By that time, I was already, I think, in my early teens, and I watched some of the series, but I think I actually kind of stopped watching it around that time. So I really didn't watch it again until the restart, till the show started again with David Tennant. No, it wasn't David Tennant. It was Christopher Eccleston.
Right.
Till what we call New Who started. When was that? 2004, 2005, 2005? When that
2005,
began? 2005, yeah. So I really got back into it from then, because I think as a fan and as a kid, I really was a big fan of Doctor Who. I was a bit of a geek, and I was really, really into it. But what I loved when the New Who started was that it actually had a significantly and obviously larger budget, much better production values than the earlier iteration of the show.
Slovenes aside, of course.
Slovenes aside, yeah. Slovenes
well, there's still that jankiness built in, but yeah.
But the very fact that they filmed it was actually shot in film rather than video, in video, and the sets in the show didn't shake when someone walked through the room.
So you got me to watch the introduction to the Master episodes with was his name John Petrie?
John Pertwee, yeah.
Pertwee, yeah. And my favorite thing in that was at one point a half-deflated plastic chair swallows a man, and that's the level of props we're working with here.
Yep.
Yeah, quite right. Yeah. Yeah. No. So I was just going to say that as an old Who fan, when the New Who began, it was just really, it became the show that I think a lot of fans wanted it to become. So it had better budgets, better scenery, better actors, and Doctor Who was always about very good storytelling, but it didn't have the budget to back up the storytelling. And I think with what RTD, the producer, did when he rebooted it, he managed to somehow convince the BBC to invest a bit more money in it, and he also made it very much more relatable as well. And so when I heard it was being rebooted, I was initially, or rebooted or restarted, I was initially a bit wary, thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? Are they going to ruin it? But it's just gone from strength to strength since then.
Yeah. And John, when did you start watching?
I started watching in 2013, I want to say. So just before the 50th. And I think I had heard from a friend about this. It was actually, I think, a friend's little sister was like, this is the coolest show. And I don't know why, but I think it was on Netflix at the time. And I just booted it up and I watched some Eccleston episodes, and I don't think I was fully grabbed by the end of Rose, but I think that by the end, by the Empty Child, I was really in. I want to watch all of this.
Yeah.
That's the episode that really.
Yeah. Are you my mummy? Are you my?
Yeah.
Spooky kid with the gas mask.
I think the horror episodes are the best ones for me.
They are often the best. Yeah.
The what are they called? The Weeping Angels. The Weeping Angels.
Yeah. Blink.
The Angels. Yeah, Blink. I mean, Blink was an absolute modern classic. I mean, that's
my all-time favorite. But that's like the Doctor himself is hardly in it. Like it's a standalone. You can just watch it as a short film. Anyone who hasn't watched anything else.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was fabulous storytelling, but it was also creepy, scary, and the genius of that was it took something that's so basic, i.e. the idea that you cannot blink. And of course, I don't know about you guys, but when I first watched it, I was actually trying to see how long I could go without
blinking. Yeah.
And then you realise it's really, really incredibly difficult not to blink.
What's great about the Weeping Angels is that they First of all, it's a very unique way they kill, right? Is they send you back in time. That's just feels very Doctor Who. It feels very
Yes.
timey-wimey. But also, it's really the only villain of the modern era that has reached the level of the Daleks and the Cybermen.
Yeah.
It's really the one that's stuck around the most compared to any other villain in the modern era.
Well, and the Master, but that's slightly different.
Yeah, but I see those as different like classes of villains, right? Like there's the big bads, and then there's like the armies, and I think that the Weeping Angels are in the same category as the Daleks and
absolutely
Cybermen.
Yeah.
But like Davros is the same class as the Master,
right? Okay, because he's like the mastermind. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. He's the commander of an army. But of course, I think what's also really incredibly creepy about the Angels is that unlike every other monster in Doctor Who, they don't speak. You don't actually hear them speaking. I think it was only in the Flux was the first time I think in the Flux maybe
they also spoke through.
They spoke in the Flux, right?
They spoke through. I don't know about the Flux because I haven't watched it yet, but they did speak through one of their victims in the first Matt Smith Angel episode.
Okay. Yeah.
They like co-opted the voice.
Yeah, but normally you don't see them as a monster. I mean, that's the nice thing. You don't see them moving, right? It's always kind of, you look away, it's always a shot away, cut away, and then they're closer, and they're closer, and they're closer. But you don't see them speaking, and that works somehow. I think that just from the fear element, that works so well.
Yeah. I heard somebody point out that one of the things about Doctor Who villains is that they're relentless, that they're not the strongest on their own often, but they just keep moving forward. It's like that horror movie, It Follows, just steady onward right toward you.
Right. Yeah.
Alicia, I see you have a bunch of these questions about
I'm just
Doctor
curious.
Who preferences.
Yeah, I'm just curious to establish what is everyone's favorite Doctor. I'll start. Mine is Smith. Tennant's a close second.
Okay.
What about you, John?
I think I would strike that, reverse it. It's
okay.
I really love Matt Smith, but I think that David Tennant was just like the guy who sold me on who the Doctor is.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
And
I'd have to agree. I think it would be David Tennant. I think Tennant somehow he somehow just embodied the Doctor that was so perfectly, and obviously RTD obviously thinks the same, which is why he brought him back.
Right.
But I think Tennant. Yeah, I think Matt Smith also as a close second, and then for me it would be Tom Baker because that was my Doctor growing up. But it would really be definitely David Tennant.
I will say that Peter Capaldi really grew on me by the end of his run too. I think he did a really amazing job, and I think he's an underrated Doctor. So I want to shout out him for a little bit.
Okay. I like all of the ones in the modern era. It's I have none of them that I dislike. I might dislike some of the writing for especially Jodie Whittaker. Yeah. But I think that the casting of the Doctors has been great all around, and including the new one.
Mm-hmm.
What about favorite showrunner? Simon, who's your favorite showrunner?
I think for me it would be Stephen Moffat. I think, although some of my favorite episodes appeared during RTD's run. No, maybe it would be Stephen Moffat is perhaps my favorite writer, and I would say RTD is my favorite showrunner.
I'll agree with that.
Difficult, but I think it would be that way because Moffat he wrote Blink. And but he's written some great episodes. So yeah, I would say it's in that order.
Yeah, I agree because RTD has like the overarching stories that pull me in more. Yeah, and I think RTD he focuses more on the companions' lives, which I find interesting always. And he has my favorite companions. So.
Yeah, because previously in classic Who, the companions were often props that were just there to scream or to do action sequences. So some of the male companions were often there to be there to do action sequences. Although there were a few strong characters like Sarah Jane Smith, who also appeared in New Who, but often they were kind of cardboard cutout, just there to kind of look good and run and scream and shout, and the Doctor would explain what's going on, but they weren't involved. And what I really like in the new era is it's almost as if some of the assistants or companions, what do you want to call them, are practically equals, and especially as we move to discussing the anniversary specials, especially the way that you see that Donna interacts with the Doctor, especially during the giggle,
right?
That they're not just there to listen to the wise old Time Lord and do what he says. They really actually contribute.
Right. I think that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Who's your favorite companion?
Me? Oh, that's a good one. Well, so my favorite for the modern era would definitely be Donna. Definitely be Donna.
Okay, fair.
I think it's also because Catherine Tate. I don't know if you're familiar with her previous work, but she's actually a comedian, and she actually had a very funny TV series called The Catherine Tate Show, where she plays a lot of different characters, and you can almost see sometimes when Donna makes a funny comment, she does, and she makes multiple amusing comments throughout the specials. Sometimes I wonder if RTD just let her ad lib, because these are very much in line with one of the characters she plays or used to play in her own show, with these brilliant one-liners. So I think Donna Noble would definitely be my favorite.
I have to say, I could appreciate her more in this anniversary special than I have ever before. I always liked her well enough, but now, I really appreciate her more. My favorite though was Martha, just because she was the first one that I saw that came in who was really like, she was a doctor. She did her own thing, and also my favorite Who thing is the spin-off Torchwood, and she appears there. So I'm also going to name Gwen. I'd like to see Gwen back.
Can I just? Let's pour one out for Martha, who was done dirty in these specials. Yeah. We won't do spoilers, but let's talk about it once we get in there.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Yeah. And what about you? Do you have a favorite companion, John?
My favorite companion. I guess I have to give you my favorite showrunner too. But my favorite companion, I'm gonna say Bill, which I only watched recently. I didn't watch 12 until very recently, and now I'm on 13. I've watched through the first series of 13. But Bill honestly had a really good balance of what I liked about Donna and what I liked about other companions. Whereas Bill, she had this sort of questioning of the Doctor and pushing him to do the right thing, but also had that wonder that I like to see in companions, because it's nice to have a positive level with the Doctor for the audience to view through. So I think Bill honestly was one of the best companions, maybe the best companion of the modern era. I'm not a Rose stan. I'm going to just come out and say that. I think Rose is tremendously overrated.
Okay, well,
you're going to upset a lot of people.
That's fine. Listen, she's fine.
I find her rated. She's not my favorite, but her story overall and the way it ends, I find one of the most moving.
Yeah,
sure. And maybe this is unfair because I watched all that when I was 19, and I did empathize with Rose really well, and I related to Rose really well because I was 19, and I liked her a lot back then, and I was really devastated with her ending and all that. But now watching it the second time, I'm like, yeah, you're not contributing a lot to the situation.
Maybe that's why I liked Martha so much, because when she came in, it was like, okay, here's a woman who actually takes control of things, who has her own. She's not just like the Doctor's girl. She's her own person.
I think you take out her pining over the Doctor, and she's a perfect companion. But she unfortunately had that subplot, which is not her fault; it's the writing fault. That I think took some points away for me.
Yeah, that was also why I think Donna was a breath of fresh air. Simply because it was clear she wasn't in the least bit interested in a relationship with the Doctor, and so I think then you could just really focus on the shows without this silly, soppy subplot. So I thought that was good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait, John? I know you've watched Torchwood, Simon, but John, have you?
I've watched the first few episodes, and it was like 10 years ago I watched it, so I barely remember. I remember the first episode had like a sexy monster, and I was like, This is
I
kind of
don't
silly.
remember that, to be honest. I mean, it is still in the Doctor Who universe, but a bit like darker.
It
more
just
adult.
felt very like, we're going to make this an adult show now. So
Oh,
now
okay.
the monster has to deal with sex. And I was like,
I don't
okay.
remember that, but
It just felt very like, it felt very to me. But maybe I'll go back. Maybe I'll like it better once I.
Okay.
once
Well,
I
it's
rewatch
my favorite thing. But anyway, spoiler, no spoiler. Martha shows up there.
Okay. Cool. And I just want to comment on showrunner. I actually agree. I think I would pick Moffat over RTD
Okay.
as far as a showrunner. I mean, I guess that was hedged in the end, but I think that RTD, it's different because he has a lot more highs. He has a lot higher highs rather, but I think Moffat has more highs and steadier highs. I think his seasons were always very good. And RTD had seasons where it would be great one episode and it would be hot garbage the next. And it's
Well,
just
that's true.
But,
That's true.
but higher
Inconsistent.
highs though.
Yes, inconsistent but higher highs. That's how I would view RTD, and I hope that they have a little bit more quality control going forward on his new run.
Maybe
Yeah.
this is like the question: Clone Wars or Rebels for Star Wars fans, you know?
Yeah, right.
And I
Right.
picked Clone Wars. Yeah.
I like that Chibnall didn't even enter the conversation here.
Well, we grinned and bared it, and now we're back.
Yeah, Alicia, we never got your answer on showrunner, and I don't.
Oh,
think,
I
we
was
did get-
agreeing. I said RTD. I think had the overall arcs.
Oh,
that
right.
appealed to me more, but I agree that Moffat wrote a lot of my favorite episodes.
Right. Okay. I wasn't sure if you were making a definitive statement on your favorite there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that about does it, I think, for our histories and all our preferences. Do we want to do some spoiler-free impressions on these specials?
Sure.
Yeah,
Let's start with Simon.
Okay, well, the impressions first were wow. My impression would be a big wow. I watched them all on Disney Plus. The first thing that really just grabs you is the resolution. It's 4K.
Money.
Yeah, it's 4K, but it's the cinematography is in a different level now. It just looks amazing. It's almost like, wow, is this still the same show? Because
Right.
I think
It's now a Marvel show.
it's really, yeah, practically in that league. It's really just scaled up in terms of just the special effects, the general cinematography, the production values, which I thought in the previous series were pretty good anyway. But you can see that's also gone up a notch. The audio is also significantly better because here in the Netherlands we get the BBC. Like if you're on your cable subscription, you get BBC One. So I always used to watch Doctor Who on BBC One. I used to record it and watch it on BBC One. But the audio was always a bit muffled. I don't know why. The dialogue was always, I found it a bit below par. So I'd always watch it with subtitles. I mean, yeah, as a native English speaker, I'd have to have English subtitles on to follow.
Yeah, but I can't hear without my subtitles.
Yeah, I'm always subtitles anyway.
Yeah.
So
okay.
on like
I wouldn't-
literally everything I watch, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't make a difference for me.
Okay, I wouldn't usually, but I always did for Doctor Who because I found that the audio quality via the BBC wasn't good. But on Disney Plus, it's crystal clear. It's epic. It's a really cinematic quality audio. It's fabulous. So that'd be my first impression. How about you, Alicia?
Yeah, I mean, I was very pleased with this. I knew exactly what it was going to be. It's like, okay, we're going to do a fan service thing. We're going to go back to this story that has been in people's heads for, however many years now. And we're going to introduce a new Doctor, and Neil Patrick Harris is going to show up, and all those things happened. And I was very happy with it. Like maybe some minor nits to pick, but at the same time, it being Doctor Who, I just don't take out the fine-tooth comb as much. It's more like rocking on vibes. Like, is it achieving emotionally what I need from it? And I would say these episodes really did.
Yeah.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that whole take. I think that, like you said, there are certainly nits to pick. I do think that this could have been stretched out to a full series, and it was a little bit rushed at times. but overall, I think they all worked. I think that the second is my favorite of the three. I
Yeah, me
think that
too.
it worked the best, but all three worked. They had told us going in that the first was going to be the most kid friendly. And
Yep.
I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
that made my expectations set a little better
Okay.
because I didn't expect it to be so dark, and it wasn't. It was not so dark, and it had a little bit of a simplified message. I think simplified moral message, but it worked. If you're saying like this one is the one for kids, go to the other two if you want something deeper, and that's
Mhm.
fine. That's fine. So I think that overall it worked really well. It got me really excited to see what Ncuti Gatwa does, and
Yeah,
that is
absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
what it was meant to do. I am the case study because I didn't watch this for 10 years between Matt Smith and this. And then this got
Ah.
me so excited that this was coming that I rewatched everything I did watch, and I watched through Capaldi, and I'm almost done with Jodie Whittaker's era. And now I'm going to watch who going forward. So this did exactly what it was supposed to do for me. And I hope,
Yeah.
and I think other people are getting this experience too.
Yeah, well, and there's also other people. We've been talking on the Discord server, and we were just talking with Jean about, he's like, oh, well, I've fallen out of it, but now I want to catch up. And it's like, well, they're restarting the numbering for the Ncuti Gatwa era at season 1 again. So that's like a good time to jump in. And I think, especially with it being on Disney Plus and thus all over the world, I think they're going to see a massive increase in numbers right now.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think so too. And for the record, my favorite was actually number 3. Was actually the Giggle. I thought the Giggle was
Okay. Yeah.
epic.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I have my minor nits with it, but overall, I love that episode too because it did a lot of things that it needed to do very well in a balanced way.
Yeah. We're going to have to talk about the implications of the Giggle once we get into spoilers.
Right.
But for
Yep.
now, I think that's I think enough on spoiler-free impressions. If you've not watched the 3 specials that are starring Catherine Tate and David Tennant, please go on Disney Plus, watch the 3 specials now, and come back after the break.
They have, just so you know, at the beginning of the first special, they have a little recap of what you need to know to understand the plot. So if you haven't caught up or haven't watched it in ages, don't worry about that.
Good point. Thanks, Alicia. All right, we will see you all after the break. And we're back. All right, now that we're in the break, I think maybe let's just save our impressions for each episode. I think we gave our general impressions on the
Right.
set.
Mhm.
Let's just dive right into the Star Beast. That's the first special. Alicia, you have a lot of notes on these. And so I think I'm going to let you sort of talk about whatever subject you want to start with.
Well, I just wanted to say I didn't notice this one until afterwards. But I know, Simon, you saw it. I don't know if you did, John, but there was actually it was some sort of charity special. There was the short with
Yes,
David
yes, I
Tennant
did
and
watch
the
that.
Daleks. Yeah, okay. So I know that there was a lot of brouhaha online where people feel like they are retconning things there, but I think people say the word retcon too quickly. I think I don't know. I thought that was delightful. What did you guys think of that short?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I think the Dalek short. I know that obviously it showed Davros not being in a wheelchair, but obviously
Yet.
it's a show. Yeah, exactly. It's a show about
Yeah.
time travel, so you don't know at what point in Davros's history did the Doctor arrive and meet Davros. It could very well have been that he may have already had his first prototype before he was injured. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's any issue with retconning. Anyway, it's time travel with multiple dimensions, and the Doctor himself has crossed into multiple dimensions. Well, you remember one of the Rose stories. There was 2 dimensions, right, where Rose met her father, who in the
Right.
other dimension was a hugely successful businessman,
Right.
etc. So this is a show where anything can be possible. So
Yeah. It's been a multiverse show for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't see why people would get upset over it. But I love the shorts. But the shorts are very
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's just been a lot of like kicking up trouble before people wait and see what the actual story is. Like the whole situation with Rose's name, the new character, Donna's daughter. And, as soon as they announce, they're like, this character is going to be called Rose. They're like, well, obviously they're going to explain it. Just everybody calm down and wait and see what it is.
I didn't see the outrage on that. That's fine.
Yeah, I did. I did too. I think a lot of Doctor Who fans get triggered very easily.
Yeah. Like they're not going to pretend that the other Rose doesn't exist. Clearly there's going to be some sort of link. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, that this reunion, this was like Donna at her best for me. I loved when she called him Skinny Man. I just my heart grew 3 sizes.
and the comment with the suit was great. Sorry, buddy, you can't wear that suit over 35, right?
Yeah. I was like, oh, you're attacking my favorite style.
Right. I heard on the Ringer podcast that they were talking about this, that I guess they had tried to make David Tennant look like the suit doesn't fit, but it just looked good on him.
Okay.
Like they wanted to be like, oh, the suit doesn't fit the Doctor anymore, like he's
That's like, why do you look hotter now?
It just works. He's a good looking guy. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that Donna, she gave away her lottery tickets because she was like and then later when she remembered, she's like, what the hell did I do?
Yeah, right. I gave away my fortune.
Yeah.
But even the way she says it, right? She's like, fine, I will help you save London, but first I'm going to yell about how I gave away all my money.
Yeah.
We have time for me to rant about this.
Yes. Yeah. The audience has time for it, I assure. But yeah, the Meep was obviously the main special thing in this episode. Now, Simon, you were the one, I didn't know before you mentioned it, that the Meep was based on some old comics.
That's right. That's right.
You grew up reading those, or?
Yes, yeah. When I was a kid, I used to buy Doctor Who Weekly. It used to be called Doctor Who Weekly. It's now Doctor Who Monthly. So the magazine is still going strong. That's where RTD is often interviewed and gives hints to what's coming. But yeah, it used to be Doctor Who Weekly, and it used to have a comic strip in there, a couple of stories, and the story that stood out clearly in my mind because it was such a shocker was precisely, part of what the Star Beast was based on. It was pretty much that some kids discover this super cute looking alien who's hiding out in a shed in their garden. And then he becomes friends with the kids and tells them that, he's been hunted down by some evildoers. And then the Doctor gets involved, the Tom Baker Doctor gets involved. But then later, the Meep switches into an evildoer when you discover he's an evildoer. So I knew that was going to happen because the story was based on it. But I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And one of the things that still stand out in my mind was Donna Noble saying, wasn't she called him Mad Paddington? which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, I remember saying to you before, when we were discussing the episode before it aired, I was like, I'm going to need some Meep merch. And you laughed as one would, but you didn't say anything suspicious. But I immediately thought to myself, I bet this Meep's going to turn out to be evil. And now I still want the Meep merch, but I want there are these stuffed animals you can find online called feisty cats. And when you just look at them normally, they look cute. But when you squeeze them, their face contorts and they look evil. I want that for the Meep.
That'd be fun. Yeah. I've seen Gremlins. That's the problem, is that I was kind of expecting this to go Gremlin and to be a problem. But it was still a good way to do the twist, right? It was like, okay, enough with this. Fuck this. I'm going to shoot all you. It was very, the way that they did the switch was really entertaining.
Yeah, but also I loved the scale of the threat. As in his ship's going to take off and he's going to burn the hell out. He's going to burn the whole of London. I thought, that's my kind of threat. Somehow it's, usually it's like a baddie wants to take over the whole planet. And that's kind of, it's old hat sci-fi. But there was something about the idea that he was going to use London he was going to burn London to get away. I thought that was also brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the twist that because they have the Wrath Warriors there, and they're called freaking Wrath Warriors, and the way they look, they just play our own prejudices against us. It's not the cute thing, it's the military looking species that's the nice ones.
Right. So, do we want to talk about the mention of Wilf?
Yeah, so it's nice that they let him still be alive,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
even though the actor passed away, sadly.
Yeah. But do we think that maybe that was David Tennant going, "I love that man," instead of the Doctor?
Well, but I think also they were showing this is 14, not 10. And 14, he's like, oh, I say things like that now. And I think they're showing the transition to Ncuti, who's obviously going to be a more effusive doctor.
Yeah.
A warmer
More in touch
doctor.
with his feelings, more
Mhm.
able to mention his past companions even. Can I guess I could ask about this later, but Adric, I that mention, apparently that like tickled a bunch of people. And do you know this, Simon? Do you know who Adric is?
Yes, yes, that was funny enough. Adric was a companion of the fourth Doctor, and then when the Doctor regenerated into the fifth Doctor, he was still with him. And then there was a story called Earthshock. It's a classic. It's one of the last ones that I watched. In fact, it's a classic Who story, and it involves the Cybermen. And that's right, Adric was a mathematics genius, I believe, and well, basically he thought he could do something which he couldn't, and he was killed. So
Oh wow.
he actually died. So in the modern era, he's really he was one of the first companion. Well, modern era, in the classic era, couple of companions have died apparently, but this was really in the era of the fourth and fifth Doctor. It was a big thing because the Doctor always saves the companion at the last minute, no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
and this one died. So
Right.
that's why the Adric reference is such a big thing, and
Interesting.
comes up from time to time.
Well, I'll tell you, I'd still rather have the track record of Classic Who than the track record of Stephen Moffat as far as companions.
Well,
Yeah.
Because if
Well,
you're a
that's
Stephen Moffat
okay.
companion, say goodbye.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You look at what happened with the Ponds,
Right.
which is also
We'll get to the puppet show.
The Ponds.
Right.
It's also mentioned in the puppet show. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, it was nice to see Unit back. Now
Yeah.
there's been rumblings. Simon, what have you heard about these rumblings about a potential Unit spinoff?
Yeah, I've heard about this as well. In fact, I think I shared. Didn't I share a link?
Probably I'm repeating something back to you that you don't.
Yeah.
But I don't. You got
Yeah, I
me to
think I
start
shared.
following a Who YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was a link. There was a story in one of the British national newspapers that mentioned a Unit spin-off. But on the other hand, you never know if that's really true or if that's just a news site doing clickbait because they know there's a lot of Doctor Who fans out there and they're going to click on it.
Mm-hmm.
That could be. So I don't know. I don't know. But I have a feeling when you look at the scale of the new Unit headquarters, that looks very much like
Avengers Tower.
Of the Avengers.
It's a nice set they got there.
It's a very expensive set. So
welcome to Disney.
Perhaps after that major investment, perhaps BBC and Disney want to get more return on that, and perhaps there will be a Unit series. It's certainly rumored, and I thought at the end of the previous special, the end of the episode of the end of the last episode of. What's her name again? Oh, am I going senile? The name of the previous
Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker, when the head of units was there with all the former companions, where she mentioned, I might want to give some of you a job. I might want to hire some of you.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if that was in itself a reference to a potential series.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and it feels in these three specials. It feels like they're setting up Shirley Ann especially a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there could be more because Unit have appeared on and off in Doctor Who's history, and they've obviously featured in all of the modern Who era, but I've never seen them so prominently featured. If you get my drift.
Yeah,
they're really it's kind of almost super. I don't know, they're super integral. So it wouldn't surprise me because in a way it does remind me of before the Torchwood series began. There were a number of references to
Right,
Torchwood.
exactly.
Do you remember during David Tennant's era, there were a lot of references to Torchwood, and Torchwood would appear a lot. Some of the characters, they would appear and be prominently featured, and then you had Torchwood. So I'm not a gambling man, apart from when I eat out in Amsterdam, but I would say there is a good chance that there'll be a unit spin-off.
Yeah.
Yep. I'd agree. And I'd watch it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
me too.
I'm in for basically any spinoff. That's fine. As long as just don't like overdo it, but they never do. And I've enjoyed the ones so far.
Did you watch the Sarah Jane Adventures?
Okay, well, I have to admit that one I only watched a couple episodes, but it wasn't really meant for me, was it?
No,
Yeah, fair enough.
More for kids.
Fair enough.
I never really watched it either.
Yeah.
Yeah, me either. I never saw a single episode. But
I've seen clips on YouTube, but I've never watched the entire episode.
Speaking of kids, I hope that they also make those stuffed animals that they had in this episode, which we find out later are, Rose kind of remembering through her mother through the Ood and the daughters and all the
knowing BBC merchandising, I'm 100% sure they will bring out all these characters, including the Meep, will be toys.
Yeah, I mean, they should have had those for sale as soon as
for Christmas,
especially for the holiday season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So I have a complaint about this. So the binary, non-binary, whatever brouhaha, that's fine. I just have to try to wrap my mind around what that means and why that saves Donna. But if it saves Donna, I'm fine with that. But
I wasn't clear. It wasn't clear to me either. To be honest,
it just felt like they were throwing a bunch of words around.
Yeah,
I mean, there
exactly.
was a lot of techno babble around then too, so it might have just gotten mixed in.
But I hope they don't do more. They went a step too far when they said at one point that's something a male presenting doctor would never understand. Yeah. And I don't like those types of comments because I feel like that detracts from the point. And that's untrue because there's lots of very sensitive, empathetic male presenting people. So anyway.
Yeah, ironically, it just sounded like a male presenting person wrote that, right?
Right, exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
You're going, it's circular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Just don't try to overcorrect. So just be real. But I think that they did handle the trans question throughout a lot of the episode. They handled it very well, especially at the beginning when, when Rose is I will burn down the world for you with these, these kids going after you and her mom being oh, sometimes I don't know what to say. And that's, that's real. And that's
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Donna Noble is descending now.
Yes, I will descend. I love that. Some serious Mama Bear stuff. And then she spills a coffee, and that's just silly shenanigans.
So tea is fine. Coffee is not. Because the tea spilled, if you'll recall David Tennant's first episode, the tea spilled into the TARDIS.
Well, the TARDIS is British.
Steam, right.
Yes, exactly.
The steam wakes up David Tennant and actually cures him of his regeneration sickness, which is something that is just not a thing for Ncuti Gatwa. But anyway, or for the 14th Doctor, I think both of them just kind of popped out, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, but then coffee, that's gonna mess you up. That's not gonna work out.
What did you guys think of the upgraded screwdriver that had more abilities?
Loved it. Well, that's Disney abilities, right? That's Disney,
right.
Yep.
Disney money abilities. I think I loved it simply because, as much as the sonic screwdriver has been around since the John Pertwee era, so since the third Doctor in classic Who, he had the sonic screwdriver. But I think there was a point. I think it was during the Matt Smith era where I even thought, it's getting a bit silly now with the sonic screwdriver on, what it can do.
Yeah, they even started making jokes about it, right? It doesn't have a wood setting. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, so I thought, it was getting a bit silly, whereas I thought it was full redemption. I loved it. I loved the part, where he drew the square. He drew the square and got a map out of it. Because it's much more visual, which ties in to the majority of young people nowadays anyway. Very visually oriented, so it's much better than, it's no longer the Star Trek tricorder kind of thing. Someone looks at the device and says, "Oh, I can tell. I can tell you smoked 2 years ago or something." Whereas now you get the visual readings that you, the audience, can see. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it makes more sense to use it to make holograms than for so many of its other functions it's been used for over the year.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
I never question anything the sonic screwdriver can or can't do. The sonic screwdriver works the way this plot requires a sonic screwdriver to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they honestly, because you didn't need this, right? You didn't need this scene. They could have just ran away like they usually do.
Right.
But I think that they added this scene specifically because they knew they were changing Shooty so much. And and the design of it, I should say. And they didn't want people to go, "Oh, well, now that it's a remote, it can do all these things suddenly." So now you can say, okay, it did it as the screwdriver shape too. So it's fine. It's not too many changes at once. I think it was actually very smart to add this scene.
Yeah. I think a lot of the stuff with these episodes, they're bridging the old idea of the Doctor with what they want to be this new era of Doctor to, bring in new, younger viewers and, more warmer, more modern, more jaunty.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a good conversation, I think, about the first special. Overall, I liked it. I think it sounds like you two liked it too. Is that right?
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. It was just wonderful to have Doctor Who back on.
Yeah,
and it's so upgraded, and seeing it's upgraded in every way with production value, cinematography, the sound. It was all kind of many wow factor moments, and it's just great to have it on.
Right, just like we have New York, we have New Who now.
Yeah,
so we are ready to go with New Who.
Yeah, I mean, I think its first episode was my least favorite of the three, but that's saying, it doesn't mean anything because I just like the other two so much.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. Shall we talk about the second one, Wild Blue Yonder?
Yes, you were my favorite.
Yeah.
So good.
It's a classic episode, even though it wasn't my favorite. I think it's a classic. I think if you look at all of New Who, which I think I have watched every episode since it's been back on, all of New Who, I think this is up there with some of the very best of New Who.
Yes.
And again, horror. So they just know how to do that. Yeah.
That and also it does something that they haven't done very many times, which is separate the Doctor entirely from his TARDIS and his Sonic. Really put the limitations on, and limitations are often what make the story the most interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. But we have to talk about that opening with Isaac Newton and his discovery of Mavity.
What was that? What was that wonderful word?
Mavity.
I loved how that was a through line. I loved that they kept going with it.
I wonder if they're going to keep it up.
Yeah, I hope not, because I think it was funny for an
but
episode.
They didn't undo it though.
Yeah, well, I did enjoy when David Tennant slips and he goes, "Oh, the gravity, the what? Oh, Mavity."
Like he knows that there's that something's changed, but Donna doesn't realize.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And he also transitioning towards Ncuti Gatwa's rendition. He's notes that Isaac Newton is hot. Oh, that's new.
Yes.
So we're getting the Jack Harkness Doctor.
Sure, but was that a sexuality change, or is that just I'm able to say that now?
Maybe a little from column A, a little from column B.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's deliberately ambiguous.
Fair enough.
And Donna's classic line, "Don't worry, he has a time machine, so he can blame me for all of eternity." I had to
still
pause
laughing,
so I could laugh. Yeah.
Oh man, that was great.
Yeah. So did you guys? When did you figure out what was going on with that alien countdown?
I didn't.
Me either. He had to explicitly say it.
Yeah, exactly. It was only when he specifically said it, but I was like, aha. Okay, yeah, I mean, again, this is one of the things about that makes this episode so special was that it was completely unpredictable. Most of the time throughout that episode, I think right up until the last couple of minutes, I was thinking, what the hell is going on? You
Yeah.
know, it was seriously creepy. Yeah, it was seriously creepy and kind of almost unpleasant as well. With the was it my arms are the wrong size? Making
Mhm.
Yeah, my arms are too
arms are
long.
too long. My arms are too
Yeah.
long. It was seriously in horror territory. There, it was it was a
Well,
masterpiece.
yeah, I called it a PG Event Horizon after watching, but then I found out that apparently the inspiration was The Thing, which yeah,
Ah,
absolutely makes sense.
okay.
Yeah. And it had a midnight vibe too, right? Is
Mhm.
who's the actual threat here? Which one
Yeah,
Right.
is the real one? All that. So it was really really good. It was really great. I just Catherine Tate and David Tennant. I could probably watch them all day. They just
Yeah.
flow
yeah,
off each other.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
there
They
yeah.
have that dynamic. You know, it's really
Hmm.
there's the chemistry between them. It's obvious because apparently also they in reality they David Tennant and Catherine Tate are actually best buddies as well,
Right.
and that really
That
comes off.
plays. Yeah.
It just really comes off. The yeah the you just feel the sparks coming off the pair of them. They just play off each other perfectly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I loved just their conversations together. Well, it took me forever to notice. I got the countdown with like Jimbo the Slowbot. I figured that out pretty quickly because I think he even threw countdown out as a possibility. I'm like, oh well, that's what it is. But then when they were having these two conversations in the two different places, it took me forever to register that they were in two different rooms and these conversations
Yes.
were happening at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was so caught up in what they were saying, like the doctor's whole story about what he imagined the TARDIS was doing now with like a civilization rising and crumbling around it. Like
Oh yes,
it was just
yes.
such good writing.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about do you think we'll see these not things from the nothing again at the edge of the universe?
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, this is in a way the luxury that the showrunner has. I mean, you have 60 years of history. The Celestial Toymaker, who will come on to when we discuss episode 3, had only appeared once in
Right.
Classic Who in 1966, apparently. So he appeared 57 years ago, and then they made a whole new
Now he's
story
back.
around it. But you
Yeah.
think about you have there are many one-off characters or villains or baddies that have appeared in Doctor Who or that have appeared only a couple of times, and then can be reused. So I think RTD has such a vast repertoire of baddies he can use. But I think
Yep.
these two were amazing. I'm sure somehow they'll reappear again.
I
Yeah.
think when he started the 2005 run, he really wanted to rid the show of the baggage of the past, right? He really wanted to say there was a time war. A lot of those things that you knew from the
Mm.
past, if you're coming back, they're not here anymore. They're not a threat anymore. And he really wanted to have these new monsters other than the iconic Daleks and Cybermen.
Yeah.
And then now I think that Who is in a place where they're celebrating that history
Yeah.
and that
Yes.
they don't feel like they can take the good from the classic era. And
Yeah.
that's a great place to be now because I think that now they can finally start exploring those monsters a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now that they're like ostensibly rebooting it again, I wonder how they're going to handle that. I'm very excited to see how
Yeah.
they strike that balance between. I think probably for like the first season, it's just going to be all new stuff. Would be my guess.
Sure.
Except, well,
Yeah.
we'll talk about the next episode, but but maybe certain things they've laid Easter eggs for here, like so we find out that there's a horse a horse species that was the astronaut on this ship of this episode. And yeah, Davies, he said that he will take fan made names for this species.
Oh, that's
So
Okay.
makes me wonder if we're going to see them more.
Yeah.
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 The no things. Do we think that that's related to the one who waits?
I don't know. Yeah, because we're
Which sounds very Loki, right?
right.
He who
Exactly what I was
remains.
thinking too. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we are getting a tease about some sort of brand new overarching villain because also the Meep said that he's my boss, something
Yeah,
something.
exactly. What did he said? Creature with two hearts is a rare thing, and I'm gonna tell the boss.
Right. So who's the boss?
But
Yeah, exactly.
what
So
if
who is the
those
boss?
guys retain the two hearts from the 14th Doctor? What if the No Things retain the two
Hmm.
hearts?
Yeah, what if they come back looking like them still?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that could also be a possibility. But
Or at least they learn that body structure, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, but they are like the kind of political commentary, but very effective, creepy is like they say they're the hate modeled after humanity, which especially in this
yes,
day and age feels on point and yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I guess David Tennant's like, oh, there's more, and they said, well, that's what reaches us, right? That's what's the loudest, and maybe
Yeah,
that's the point is that there is more, but we need to figure out how to make the positive a little louder.
yeah.
Right.
Perhaps it's a commentary on Twitter or X. Because there's some good stuff on there, but you have to wade your way through all the hate.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
as a net as the Lorehounds, we've stopped using Twitter for a while because it's gotten so bad.
Yeah,
But
I deleted my account because it just
yeah,
got so bad. I just couldn't do it. But now in Europe we have Threads, and I've just started using it, and I love it.
Oh, I
I
haven't
love it.
started Threads. I've chosen Blue Sky, but it's not like the features aren't all there yet, but
hmm
it's similar to Twitter and yeah, and I like the community there. It's a better community for sure. Like Neil Gaiman seems to have jumped ship and be mostly on Blue Sky now.
Oh,
oh,
nice.
interesting. Yeah,
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 okay.
we're on Blue Sky too. Check the show notes if you want to follow us.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, you've got a couple more points here, Alicia, on
Yeah.
your
Well,
list.
so counting salt thing. Now I knew as soon as
Brilliant,
yeah, but I knew as soon as like that happened, that's going to come back, and I guess we'll talk about that more in the next episode, since that's when it's brought up again. But
Yeah.
I love ghost stories, so that counting salt thing comes up a lot. I have mixed feelings about how it was used here, but I just wanted to point it out because it
Oh,
becomes important.
I thought it was I thought it was very clever and quite
Hmm.
scary, but also quite amusing at the same at the same time as the Donna clone or whatever you want to call her. As the no thing was, they were actually counting the grains of salt. I thought,
Right.
Yeah.
fantastic, fantastic.
He was so ominous. The Doctor was so ominous
Hmm.
Yeah,
about, oh, I invoked a superstition
I
at the
shouldn't have done
edge
that.
of the universe. That's not great.
Yeah.
no, no.
That's a typical whoism. Like, ooh,
Yeah.
a superstition at the edge of the universe. What does that mean? But speaking of the wrong Donna, I am still mad at the doctor for taking the wrong Donna. Like, she forgave
Yeah,
him too
that definitely
easily.
was a real accident.
Yeah, absolutely. But then we get our heart a salve at the end of the episode with the one and only scene that we
Yeah,
were able to get with Wilf in this.
Mm.
which is absolutely wonderful. I'll tell you something you might not know, but in the 1960s, when the Dalek hype was, the first appearance of the Daleks apparently in the UK caused something akin to Beatlemania. So it was really a huge hype around the Daleks and Doctor Who. It's what made the series
Okay.
initially. And then there were actually two movies because it was so popular. Two films of Doctor Who were made with different actors, and it's not part of canon. But one of the companions was played by Bernard Cribbins.
Oh,
Hmm.
In other words, Wilf was actually played by young Bernard Cribbins. He played a policeman who got aboard the TARDIS and went off with the Doctor, who was played by Peter Cushing, the
Hmm.
famous horror actor. So just so you know, but Wilf, yeah, it was really so nice seeing Wilf here. Those are last scenes he shot, and it's just kind of heartwarming. And that was, in a way, you could say
yeah.
one of the things that RTD was brilliant at as a show runner, where he created this kind of ensemble list of extra
Yeah.
characters. Wilf, obviously Donna's
Yeah.
mother, but also they weren't just bit parts just there to say, "Hey, hi." They were genuinely characters you could engage with, and obviously
Yeah.
Wilf was just fabulous.
Yeah,
Wilf always had those perpetually wet eyes, right? He just
Mhm.
always felt like he felt everything.
Yeah.
But it's nice thinking that like that was one of the last things that Bernard Cribbins ever got to do. Is
That's
such?
right, yeah.
I mean, that's a high point for you to look back and remember this magical thing that you were a part of in your life.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm tearing up. And then there's rioting and an apocalypse, and that takes us to the giggle.
Yeah.
The giggle where, of course, Wilf is blurred the whole time.
Right.
You can see right away, you're like, okay, this was not him.
Yeah.
He was not there.
Yeah.
Nah,
like looking
nah.
over his shoulder and there's a clear wig. Like, okay, fine.
Right. Right. He's just in the background, and then they're like, all right, take him somewhere. Oh,
Yeah.
now he's shooting moles, right? Wasn't
Take
it?
him
Yeah.
to safety. Take him to safety, yeah.
But I guess it's better that way, you know, just to let him live on for
Yeah.
now in that world.
That also tells me that we're not going back to Donna's garden for a long time, which I think is good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah. Yeah. Especially with the way they leave things in this episode where, I mean, well, I guess we'll talk about the bi-generation at the end, but
Yep.
they've got to do that for a reason. What did you guys think of the Neil Patrick Harris as the toy maker? Now, John, you told me you're not a huge MPH fan in general.
I think he's fine. I think he plays things very straight, very straightforward.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I watched him in How I Met Your Mother. He's
Okay.
funny, although that character is incredibly problematic.
Sure.
I watched him in back in the day, Dr. Horrible sing-along blog. Everybody
Oh,
remember
I
that?
love that. Yeah, I love
That was
that.
that was great. I think that's my favorite thing he's done. But so before this, I think this is now my favorite thing he's done. But he really nailed this role. I really liked
Yeah.
it, and I liked.
He committed.
Yeah, did you see the interview he did about this?
No.
He
No,
did an interview about it. I think he basically read the script and he was just like, "Yeah, this is going to be fun." And
He didn't know much about Doctor Who before that. I did
No.
hear that.
Yeah,
No,
that's
he
what I heard
didn't.
as well. Yeah, he never really. No, that's right. Because after reading the script, he said to RTD, he said, "So let me get this right. The Doctor's an alien, right?" So
Yeah.
he's never watched Doctor Who prior to reading the script.
Yeah, and you can see his genuine reaction in the puppet show, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Clara was killed by a bird. It's
Well, that's all right.
yeah. I mean, it's fair reactions. I like how
Yeah.
it's like he's supposed to be changing his accent to do the American accent, but
Right.
that's his real accent. It's just
Right.
it's funny.
Well, but it's also, I like that because I know the original toy maker was, I mean, none of us have seen all the episodes because they don't exist anymore.
No,
Right.
But you can find the clips online of what does exist. And the original toy maker, they went with the whole Oriental thing that
exactly.
people
Yeah.
used to do.
Ugh.
And so this time they're like, okay, we're just going to make him someone who puts on the persona of different Earth nationalities as like a costume. So
Yes.
you get in the first episode, the guy who comes into the shop is like, oh, your accent's slipping. So
Yes.
I like that they called that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Yeah.
That's a really great way to bring it back.
And yeah, obviously they go ahead and get right on political with everyone started thinking they're right all the time. Like,
Yes.
"Oop, here we
Yeah.
go, buckle up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's basically what Twitter would be in real life. So,
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. Yeah, and that whole thing with the doll, what's his name, Stooky Bill.
yes, apparently that is actually true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That was Stokey Bill was the first ever image broadcast on television in the UK. It was using Stokey
Yeah.
Bill.
and he really did kind of like catch fire a little bit because of the lights.
Yes, the lighting. Yeah.
But the fact that having that image stuck in every television since is a bit of Who logic. I'm like, don't think about it,
Yes.
Alicia. Don't think about it.
So did the Hungry entity have to like battle this Stooky Bill? I don't understand. Remember that one from the I think that's early David Tennant, right? Hungry.
I don't remember actually.
Really? Oh, it was like it took the form of like this female talk show host, and it was actually a good villain. It was a good
Okay.
story.
Ah.
Basically they had this guy selling TVs so that they could steal the faces of people
Oh,
and put
yes.
them in the TV.
Was that the idiot box? episode.
Let's see. Let's look it up before we get at
Yeah.
it. Doctor Who
I think it was called the Idiot Box or something.
TV
That's-
monster.
Or the Idiot's Lantern. The Idiot's Lantern. I think that was
The Idiot's Lantern. Yep, that was it. It was the 10th Doctor, featuring Elizabeth II, and main enemy was the Wire. Is the name of the monster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's starting to ring a bell. Yeah,
Season 2,
I need
episode
to rewatch.
7.
Okay.
Yeah. Because that's what people in the, I don't know, when TV took off in the 50s, because so few people could afford a television, the common nickname for television and people watching it, they used to call it the Idiot's Lantern.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in the US, it's often called the idiot box because they say it makes you stupid. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's a
slack jaw.
similar idea. Similar idea
Yeah.
in the UK.
Yeah, so in any other show, you'd have the issue of, well, how do these two villains interact? In Doctor Who, you're just like, fuck it, we're just going
exactly.
forward with it.
Exactly.
This is just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Wave it away.
Yep.
Yeah. But I did find chilling the way that they worked that laugh arpeggio into it,
Brilliant.
the giggle
That
of
was
the title, the ha
Yeah.
ha ha
Brilliant.
ha ha ha.
Yeah, and the fact
because-
that Donna worked it out as well was
Yeah.
also
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And I love Donna's negotiation of her salary later.
Oh,
She doubles it, and she's like, oh my God.
yes, yeah. She's like, yes.
Donna was brilliant in this episode. Like when she's fighting the dolls, and we got that "I lost my precious hubby" poem, which was creepy as hell. And then she's like, "My name is Donna, and you are Ghana." Smashes the doll.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, this is where we get the payoff of that casting the salt at the edge of the universe
Yes,
thing.
exactly.
The doctor says, "I played a game," and that let the toy master in. Which,
Yeah.
that's just one of those things I just kind of have to squint my brain a little bit and be
Sure,
like,
yeah.
"Sure, why not?"
Yeah. Is that a game? There was no challenge there. I don't know.
Yeah, and we get that, of course, that like iconic puppet show. I think years from now, that's going to be the scene from all these 3 specials that maybe I remember the most is that puppet
Yeah.
show.
It was really good. I kind of wanted to see him go through the rest,
Yeah,
I was like,
exactly.
can we not interrupt him, David?
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And this is where people are up in arms about Martha not being mentioned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, people say, yeah, why wasn't Martha mentioned? Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess 'cause she turned out okay.
logically, and it logically makes sense that like these were after Donna, right? He's giving her the history from after she left.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true too. That's also
Oh,
true.
yeah, that's right. Because that's right. He began with
Because she was in
Do you know who
between.
he travelled with after?
Yeah.
He loved
Yeah.
Amy Pond.
Yeah.
The way he said Amy Pond is such an earworm. It's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's all right then.
Well, that's all right then. Oh, just the
Yeah.
way like you said, it feels like, especially because he slipped into his real accent and just the way his face would like contort and like the mask would slip. It did
Right.
feel like that was really Neil Patrick Harris coming through.
Right. But it really does put into the perspective. Do you think that this was a dig at Stephen Moffat a little bit? It was not like a mean dig, but like RTD kind of making fun of his friend for the way he killed off but didn't kill off any of his companions.
It could be. Could very well be, yeah.
I mean,
I
but then
think so.
you could say the same, like, Rose ended up in another universe, but she got a copy of the Doctor. Well, that's all right then.
Right. Right. Sure.
You
Yeah.
could do it with all of them, pretty
But at
much.
least Martha had a normal ending.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's why she wasn't brought up, because
Yeah.
this was an episode about regrets, it felt like.
Whereas all 4, Justice for Rory, all 4 Moffat companions
Yeah.
had a death not death.
Right.
They like kind of died.
Yeah.
So I get the criticism. It's kind of like, well, are you killing them or not? Right? Did you actually was there a consequence here or not? Because Stephen Moffat's companions, you could argue, other than Amy and Rory, actually got a perfectly fine life beyond the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And even Amy and Rory supposedly lived a happy life.
Yeah. In where did they go back to? 20s New York?
Yeah. Got into
Yeah.
publishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Got into writing, yeah.
Yeah.
But still, yeah. On the other hand, would you like to end up back in the 1920s?
This man waited 2,000 years for this shit.
Yeah. But hey, at least you know how to play the stock market. So
that is true.
All right.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
My one gripe. So we'll talk about the bi-generation. I liked it, but my gripe is just for me that game of catch. Like, okay, this is the first game ever, but I found that game of catch very anticlimactic. Personally.
Yeah, it's a bit. And
yes.
The thing about it is that you have this show that's consistently over the years been about what a genius the Doctor is, and that he uses his brain to solve problems. And yeah, it would have been nice if they'd used a game that would really show the Doctor or the Doctors their intelligence, and they would beat him because they're incredibly smart, rather than something like catch.
I think they were going for that. He wanted more of like a luck based thing because he knows that he can't outsmart the toy maker, but at the same time, this isn't luck, right? This is actually skill. And the only lucky thing about it is that he had a second partner on his team, so he could go 2 versus 1.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
but I guess they blew all their budget on the Spice Girls. That's probably what happened.
Spice up your life. Okay, so is everyone happy with the bi-generation, or like John? Do you have quibbles?
I loved it. I liked
it too.
Okay. So when I first watched it, I was very like, I don't like that. But then, first of all, Ncuti's Doctor charmed me very quickly.
Yeah.
Second, the way that somebody phrased it online, which I really liked, was David Tennant's Doctor is the closure to the previous show, is the happily ever after for the Doctor we've seen since 2005. Or even if you want to go back further to 1963. And then Ncuti's Doctor is the new adventure for Disney. And I'm fine with that. If we have we finally have the happily ever after for the Doctor that he's been needing, and we're closing out the old series and we're starting fresh, that's fine with me. I think that's good.
And we also hear from interviews that Davies apparently said that any Doctor could have bi-generated at any point. So it seems like he's leaving things open as he possibly can. He's like, you know what? I want all of my toys in my toy box that I can play with when I want.
That made me really nervous.
Yeah.
Because that sounds very, very much like we're going to have a Secret Invasion show, right? Like there's just going to be too many shows.
Yeah, I hope that they've, especially considering that this is at Disney now, and Disney is just learning their lesson from all the Marvel overextension. Yeah. I think they must, and I don't know that they'll want to invest as much into this, at least until it proves itself. And I hope they manage to remember lessons learned, but humans are not good at that, so we'll see.
Yeah. Yep. But for me, what I loved about the bi-generation was simply that I've seen multiple regenerations since the old Who, and this is the first time. Well, no, it's not the first time. After Jodie Whittaker's was actually the first regeneration where they did something completely different, i.e., regenerate into the same face. So that was completely new and also completely shocking. And thankfully, I hadn't read any spoilers, so I didn't know that was coming. I don't know if you guys knew it was coming with with her regenerating into David Tennant, but for me, it was,
only because I came back for the David Tennant specials, right? Like I just knew he was coming back already.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
I made a bet with you because I was dumb and I didn't know.
Yeah. But so that was in itself quite amazing. So maybe something new there, and I like the fact that we have this mythical race, the Time Lords, and if they can travel through time, if they can invent time machines that can blend in with their surroundings, which they're supposed to do, and the Doctor's is broken, then why not? Why wouldn't a bi-generation be possible? And for me, it was also a complete surprise when he bi-generated. So for me, I think why it's the same as with comics and comic characters. When Superman began, all of the things that are part of his character, such as X-ray vision, the super cold breath, and various other powers, they were all added later on. You know, so
Yeah.
it's things evolved with time, and they've just evolved Doctor Who a bit more now with the bi-generation, and
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
And they doubled the TARDIS, so they both get the cool new TARDIS. But
Exactly.
Shooty's has a jukebox in it, which I love.
Oh yeah, that's something we didn't discuss from the first one, from the Star Beast. The new TARDIS. What
Oh
do you think
yeah.
of the new TARDIS?
I mean, it's gorgeous. I was worried that well, I mean, not worried per se, but I thought at first that they were just going to use it for these 3 specials. And then I was like, oh, well, that's also what the new one looks like. I'm like, well, yeah, that looks like an expensive set. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that I would say about the bi-generation is I could actually think of 2 logical reasons why this Doctor would have it. One was you're dealing with the toy maker and you were killed by his beam and he's in the game of play.
right.
And maybe you wanted the advantage in, I'm the Doctor. I want the advantage of having a second set of hands.
Uh-huh.
Maybe my mind, my regeneration sort of pours into that. And that's how we get the bi-generation.
But didn't the toy maker also say something like that he wanted to make doubles of the Doctor so that he could keep killing them over and over, something like that?
I think he said like a new face, right? I don't know. Well, anyway, my other point was, and I haven't watched the Timeless Child stuff yet, so tell me if I'm wrong about something, but it sounds like the Doctor may have abilities beyond the basic Time Lord.
Yes.
Well,
and maybe that's a good reason for this to only happen to him.
Well, it's also like the Time Lords, their abilities are based on the Doctor's, it seems.
Right.
Yes.
But if you're copying the Timeless Child's abilities, perhaps the Timeless Child retains some abilities for itself.
Right.
Yes, exactly. That perhaps there's more about the Timeless Child than has been shown before, because he's only just discovered that he's the Timeless Child. So yeah.
And Russell T Davies said that he liked that twist. So it seems like he's going to, and he brought it up here. So it seems like he's going to keep it. He's going to play with it.
Yeah.
So it seems, they left like a surprising number of lingering things to carry into the next series for me. So we have the happy ending with, David Tennant's Dr. 14. He gets to chill with the family, and apparently like his rest and recuperation with Donna allows. So when they bi-generated, Ncuti Gat was actually from a previous, like from far in the future, but then somehow came out at the same time. So because he's actually the future version of David Tennant's Doctor, however that works.
Does that mean that David Tennant's Doctor, that the 14th Doctor will eventually have a traditional regeneration into the 15th Doctor?
That's what it seems to imply, because he said to Tennant, he said, I can be more relaxed and laid back now and carefree because you rested. So I am, have that. So that's, I don't know, that's what I'm taking it to mean.
Yeah.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fine with me. I think that's pretty cool to have sort of an already established version of the Doctor come back and help them.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm fine with it. And I like they gave, Donna has a new career at UNIT, which is another reason why I wonder about this UNIT
spin-off. The UNIT spin-off, I think that with both her and Mel, I think that's...
Notice they gave her 5 weeks of holiday, so they can easily explain her being away.
Hey, well, that's standard in Europe, so...
Fair enough.
But they the toy master, when he's vanquished, he says, "My legions are coming," and we also see there's a gold tooth that he says the master was in, and a hand with red nail polish picks it up. So these are 2 lingering threads. Like,
exactly.
The boss of the Meep, the legions of the toy master, who also apparently had some sort of boss, and both the master and or this hand. Do you think the hand could be a new Missy?
Could be. You mean it could be a future iteration of the Master?
Because
for example,
or past. We don't even know, because I always assume that Sasha Darwin's is a past iteration before Missy.
I'm not even sure, because they never showed the Sasha Darwin's Master where he regenerated from. So that's true. He could have been from the past or from the future.
Yeah, and then I guess in Missy's death scene, you kind of see her fall unconscious, but she doesn't necessarily fully die, right?
We could always have there's no way.
Oh, John Sims was bluffing, so it's fine.
Yeah,
But I like
yeah.
to think that the next version of the Master Missy, whatever, will be more like Missy. We'll have, we'll carry the lessons that Missy learned. Whereas the Sasha Darwin iteration was just like a fun, let's sing Rasputin and
Fair enough.
yeah.
I literally just got to the episode where Sasha's doctor is introduced, and unfortunately, because I already know who plays
Oh, sorry.
the
Now you
next
know.
doctor, I was just like, no. I already knew that was the master. But
right. Yeah.
I get there and I'm like, oh, okay, that's the master. O is actually the master. Okay, fine.
Yeah. That was a brilliant episode, by the way. I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to finishing it. I'm like halfway through it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a two. I think it's a two. Is it? I think it's a
Yeah,
two-parter.
it's a two-parter.
Yeah, it's a two-parter. It's very, very good. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say I am less of a Chibnall hater than the general public, I think, based on the
Yeah.
little that I've
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah, same here. Same here. There's a lot of griping about the Chibnall era. I thought they were more good stories than bad.
I struggle with the Flux, but you liked it, Simon, didn't you?
I loved it. I thought the Flux
Yeah.
was fantastic.
I
So,
struggled. It took me months to watch those episodes, but then
I'm the weirdo because I thought it was amazing.
No, but that's good. I'm glad. But then when I got to the what was it, the Dalek time loop, was it the Time of the Daleks or whatever, that's that holiday special, New Year special right after that, that was like, oh, we are back, and I love that. And I was like, oh, I wish every episode with Jodie Whittaker had been like this one, because then there's, her time was basically done by then.
Yeah.
But I loved
Yeah.
the first season. Like, I loved that the episode, John, you and I were just talking about, and Simon, I know you liked it too, the one with the partition in India and Pakistan. That was
Yes,
really
that was
good.
excellent.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It was the Devils and something. Yeah. I did really like that one.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah, I'm look, I haven't seen the rest of it yet, so I can't make a judgment on that, but I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it. I'm not dreading it, and I'm glad
Right.
about that.
Right.
But yeah, I think that overall these specials were absolutely fantastic. Can we talk about the Spice Girl scene before we move on to our final thoughts?
Go for it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I love just Neil Patrick Harris, just, bravo.
Yeah.
I-
Absolutely fantastic. And did you see that the Spice Girls on TikTok reposted and said we loved seeing this?
Aw.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I
fabulous.
bet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's
Yeah.
nice to hear. And in the American Beauty reference with him doing the rose angel on the ground.
Ah,
Oh, is that what that
yeah.
was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't get the reference, but yes.
Well, that's
now
what
that
I
you
took
say
from it.
it.
Yeah.
Now that you say it. But also, it was kind of what was brilliant about it. On one hand, it's kind of funny. There's Neil Patrick Harris dancing to Spice It Up. But on the other hand, a soldier comes to shoot him, and the soldier is turned into a bunch of balloons, and
Yeah.
and the way he threw Mel, like he danced with her and
Yeah.
spun, and then she falls over, and
And the balloon was screaming, right?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So
God.
it was brilliantly done. It's that brilliant mix of complete campness but also horror.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a quietly horrific episode. Like, a lot of people died in disturbing
Yeah.
ways.
And there was that tonal dissonance. You have David Tennant really brilliantly standing there with a look of horror on his face, and you have Kate asking what happened to them. They're dead. I'm sorry. Just really,
Yes.
really just he gives up. He's like, I can't do anything about this. The doctor is
Yeah.
usually running to the rescue. He's like, I don't have powers like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
scary.
that's. I do wish that Neil Patrick Harris had more episodes. Like, this is
Yes.
a villain who I would have liked to have seen his threat stretched out longer, because it could
I
have been.
think I think he'll be back.
Yeah.
I hope
he's
so.
in
I think so, too.
He's in a box in unit headquarters.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
Chekhov's box.
Yeah, I think at some point, I think he'll escape. Or he mentioned my legions are coming, right? So
Yeah.
we don't know
Mhm.
what that means. He mentioned that my legions are coming, so maybe something comes and releases him. I'm sure he'll be back. He's like in the DC comics. They have Omega, they have these
Right.
all powerful being, and I think it's a great character that in many ways offers more than the master. You have this almost omnipotent eternal with incredible powers.
Right.
I think it will be super exciting to see him
Right.
up against Nokuchi.
Yeah, the master always feels like, okay, he's on the level of the Doctor, and that's what makes him scary, because we know the Doctor is so powerful.
Yes.
But then this is something otherworldly and more other universally, right? Like this is a level above what the Doctor usually deals with.
Yeah, exactly. This is someone who's completely omnipotent and has effectively magical powers.
Right.
So I really hope we see him again, because I think as you say, I think it's almost he didn't get enough screen time. He was so good.
Exactly.
I could watch him all day. So I think it'd be great if they bring him back.
Yeah. He's like the Hooniverse version of the Scarlet Witch, with the chaos magic. He can manipulate reality.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. You have some final thoughts outlined, Alicia?
Well, I was just thinking about, so in the Day of the Doctor special, they famously call the 10th Doctor, the previous David Tennant incarnation, the man who regrets, and the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith, the man who forgets. And I've heard the Capaldi Doctor, the 12th, called the man who accepts, and the 13th called Jodie Whittaker, the woman reborn. So I was wondering, does that make the 14th, would that be like the man who questions? And then the 15th is the Doctor who comforts? What do you think? Because he's saying, you can't save everyone. And that hug that he gives is felt all around the world.
The 14th is the man who goes to therapy.
Yeah.
And
the 15th is the therapist.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Surely the best therapist would be a future version of yourself.
Yeah.
The licensed mental health counselor, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I could tell my younger self so much stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
Same here. So that would be wonderful if you could talk to your younger self.
Yeah. Were you guys looking forward to the Christmas special? I guess the answer is probably obvious.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
am. Have you seen the trailer?
Yeah.
The Goblin song. Have you seen that?
Yeah, the budget really looks another step up even.
Yeah.
I think RTD came out and said that they didn't have Disney money for the 60th anniversary specials.
Oh, really? What?
Yeah,
but it looks like they were using,
sure.
I mean, they clearly used Disney assets. Like they literally used Avengers Tower.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess maybe there was some intermediary, but I think the budget really goes up with the new season.
Yeah, okay. Well, that makes sense. It's like this is their fresh start. That's where they're investing.
Yeah. Well, this was a blast, everyone. I'm glad that we were able to come together and talk about these specials. What do you say we take a quick break and then we come back and we take some listener feedback?
Yeah, sure.
And we're back. All right, guys, let's do some listener feedback. We didn't get any emails or contact form entries because that's usually how this goes on these one-offs. But I did scrape from the Discord because there was a lot of really good conversation on there. So I just pulled about 5 messages. The first one's the longest. I started negative and I went positive. So don't be scared if it's immediately negative. As a reminder, you can contact us at lorehounds@thelorehounds.com, or you could head to thelorehounds.com. Go to the contact page, send us a voicemail or just a contact form entry. DJ Miwa on the Giggle says, this ep was just like the first special. Excellent right up until the second it was dumb. NPH was absolutely incredible. I didn't even know he had this gear in him. His performance was utterly magnetic and frankly terrifying. He and Tennant definitely sold the history between the Doctor and the Toymaker, even though I didn't know anything about that story. However, the Bi-Generation, one of RTD's worst ass polls, of which there are a ton. So basically now, thanks to him, this is the third variant of the Doctor running around. Prime Gatwa, Prime Doctor Gatwa, then a variant of the Tennant Doctor living with Rose in a parallel universe, and now the Bi-Generated Doctor complete with his own TARDIS.
Well, I just have to interject very quickly that there could be every iteration of the Doctor could be running around at the same time anywhere because he's a time traveler. So I just want to point that out.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's also pour one out again for Martha, who is the only 10th Doctor companion without a version of David Tennant with her.
Yeah, she can do better.
The other two both got one to take home.
Yeah, but she should be. she should have her Torch family with her. You know,
you really want to leave her with Mickey?
John Barry. What?
You want to leave her with Mickey after all Noel Clarke's issues?
Oh yes.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we. I think if he's ever mentioned again, he'll be either killed off or exiled somewhere.
Yeah. I think
he's coming back.
I think he won't be mentioned again.
Yeah. It's that guy who used to hang out with Rose. That's like the extent.
Yeah.
DJ Miwa continues, which leads me to ask why. Why aren't regenerations just straightforward with RTD? Why the bait and switches and the ass pulls? This was a fantastic episode, and an actual regeneration would have been a great emotional capper. Tennant regenerating, saying something like, "Now I can go," would have been the perfect compliment to his "I don't want to go." Well, we kind of got that with Alonzi. I think that was a fair, it means let's go, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that was actually a really good line. I was hoping that he would actually regenerate traditionally right after that. I thought that would have worked. Anyway, finishes, the ass pull in the first special was bad enough. Apparently, Donna could have just given up the Time Lord powers at any time. This one is even worse. And despite my optimism after last episode and 90% of this one, I now go right back to worrying about upcoming Doctor stories. Sorry for being a downer. I'm sure there are folks who liked it.
But Donna it was because she gave birth to a child. So that's not like you can give it away at any time, That's you have to get pregnant and carry a child for 9 months and then raise this child. Like that's, it's not just throw away whatever.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, I don't think that she could immediately just like wake up with the 10 seconds she has left and give it away right away, even if she didn't have it weakened, so where she can like think about it for a minute, figure out where the energy is in her and let go of it. I think that she really needed time, and that was the issue, is that because in the first special, when the Doctor is saying like you have 30 seconds left, right, or 50 seconds, I don't think that was enough time for her to let that go.
Right.
And it was only because she was able to survive through splitting the energy with her daughter that she could get rid of it. And I think that made sense to me. I didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, like the words they were using weren't necessarily making sense to me, but I was just like, whatever. Whoever.
Yeah. Exactly.
They were Elsa, let it go. Let it go. Anyway, as far as this regeneration nonsense, is this really, is he known for doing ass pull regenerations, as DJ Miwa says? Because I don't think so. Eccleston to Tennant was pretty straightforward. So was Tennant to Smith.
Well, yeah, I don't know that he necessarily means about the regenerations, but just more about how, like Doctor Who in general is inherently like a Deus Ex Machina kind of storytelling style. Just it doesn't really, something crazy is going to happen and save the thing, and it's not about. I just turn off my brain from picking holes in, for instance, the science or whatever of it, and it's just is the emotional resonance there, because that's the kind of storytelling it is.
Sure. This is a fantasy show, right? This is not The Expanse.
No,
right.
Exactly.
It's just never going to be. And that's fine. They're different shows. So yeah, I guess we're just going to have to agree to disagree with DJ Miwa.
But thank you for your thoughts. It's good to get that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Love hearing from you, DJ Miwa. And please write in again if you decide to continue watching, because I'm not sure if you are.
Maybe the Christmas special will win you over.
Yeah. Greg Saw also says, I loved the giggles, but I have some issues. Okay, so that's halfway there. The 5 minutes of playing catch up was kind of anticlimactic. Playing catch was kind of anticlimactic. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
Tennant still being around really got in the way of Gatwa shining, but I'm excited to see more in the Christmas special. Gatwa getting away and being fine with all the trauma while someone else does the work. How do I get that in real life? Fair. I'm really glad we got this 14 plus Donna miniseason. Something about RTD's approach just hits me way better than Moffat or Chibnall did.
I would
All right.
generally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, generally agree with that. Although, like I said, I really liked Moffat. I think he has his issues, but I like him. With him getting in the way of Gatwa, I heard you disagree, Alicia. I am with you. I think that Gatwa had his own vibe, and
Yeah.
it got me really excited to see him, actually.
And we got to see more of the new Doctor than we normally do in a regeneration episode.
Exactly.
Normally,
Yeah.
Exactly. Usually they get one line.
Yeah.
If that, sometimes it just ends. They've regenerated, and that's it. You don't see anything.
Yeah.
Whereas what you immediately
My
get the
kidneys,
impression
I don't
of-
like the color. Yeah.
Yeah. But what you immediately get is this incredible charisma that the new Doctor has. You know, it's very positive and all this energy. Yeah, I think it's great. He reminds me of Matt Smith, oddly enough.
Yeah.
That sort of energy.
Yeah. It's maybe why I'm also extra excited. I'm like, yes, let's bring back that. Like, I like this boyish, enthusiasm.
Yeah.
He's got the young Dr. Riz. As the
there
kids
we
say.
go.
Sadie, who has never watched Doctor Who before, writes in and says, the third special is very confusing to me and the least interesting by far to me as a non-watcher.
I guess I can understand that because that one was basically, I mean, the Neil Patrick Harris thing is, that's new for most people, but all the Dr. Donna stuff and the regeneration, that's going to be, it's going to throw new people off. I can understand.
And the mention of the previous assistants and how they ended. If you don't know any of that, then it's not really going to appeal.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I felt like these episodes were the fan service to get out of the way to open up the door for starting with the Christmas special.
Yeah, I think that they are really going into this two-pronged approach going into the Disney era, which is use this David Tennant little run, as a please come back, an invitation to old fans. And then with the Christmas special onward, they're really, they're renumbering at 1. They're doing this young Doctor who will hopefully bring people in. And they're the companion's like 19, right? So they're doing like a young companion, unlike Graham from the last generation.
Right.
And they really
Justice for Graham.
Justice for Graham. But I think that RTD is basically saying, like, it's safe to come in now, whether you've been gone for a while or you're coming in new.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And with that two-tiered approach, these specials were not meant for new viewers.
No.
They were all right for new viewers, but they were not meant for them for sure. I think Christmas will hopefully be a really good introduction.
Yeah. That's the feeling I get.
Lay's Chips Inc. writes in, says, great episode. I doubt David Tennant will be back on a regular basis, but I'm excited for the possibility of more Tennant plus Tate. As long as they don't make a spin-off about them, Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor should have a great chance to shine.
Yeah. I agree with that. It wouldn't surprise me if perhaps, in a future Christmas special that somehow they cross path, the Doctors cross path. So I can imagine as a one-off kind of episode, and perhaps you get to the actual real regeneration into Ncuti Doctor. Maybe that will happen in the future.
That would be cool.
I hope they don't make a spin-off series.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was actually ready to let go of David Tennant's Doctor by the end of this. I said, okay, get out of the way for the new guy. There was this great TikTok somebody made where they took the scene of the Master rolling in the Doctor on a wheelchair when he made him old. And they said, it's David Tennant at 90 being asked to come back for the 100th anniversary because ratings are down.
I mean, yes. I don't mind if they bring him back every now and then for these one-off sort of things. I don't know if I need an entire spin-off. I wouldn't hate it as long as they wait a while. I agree. They need to give the new era a chance to take root before they start piling on the fan service for the old era.
Yeah. Or perhaps the new unit spin-off series,
Right.
or
Well, that's what I thought.
occasionally have a doctor appearing, David Tennant's doctor appearing
Yeah.
as a scientific advisor, as the third Doctor was.
Yeah, it reminds me there's this comic run for Captain America where he gets turned into an old man and then
Right.
gives Falcon the mantle, and he's just like a consultant for the Avengers. And maybe that's what David Tennant's doctor does. They give him a call every now and then. He comes in, he does a voiceover over the phone, and that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
It'll be
true.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, especially he's living with Donna. Donna's hired by Unit. Yeah, I'm thinking he would slot in nicely as an occasional guest star in the Unit series.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one last piece of feedback. Pariah Dice says, I love the arc, but I've always been a fan of the Tennant Doctor. That said, if the point of this mini arc was to re-engage the Who fans and get them hyped for Ncuti, Who, it fully worked for me.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which I think is a good note to end on.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Bring on the Christmas special. And the,
Bring it
what was
on
it,
for
gnomes?
sure.
The attic gnomes or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, this was a fun time talking with both of you. Are there any closing thoughts about Who before we talk about where to find you?
My only closing thought would be, I'm just looking forward to what will be the new era, and let's hope it goes from strength to strength.
Very cool.
I just wanted to point out that a lot of people have been discussing online that when the bi-generation happened and the Doctor split their clothes, that a lot of people like to remember that David Tennant ended up without underwear. So you can imagine Commander Doctor for the rest of your time. But no, I can't wait for the Ncuti Doctor. Just the energy that he's already brought to it, and I just find him such a charismatic actor already. So
yeah, I'm really excited for Christmas, and I don't know if we'll be back for Christmas. We'll see, because scheduling gets a little tricky. But I think, Alicia, perhaps you and I will talk about some future coverage of Doctor Who on this feed.
Sounds good.
Simon, are you working on any projects that people can check out?
No, not really. No, not really. Very, very, very happy to be here. I mean, I have a blog in Amsterdam, but it's don't worry. I'm good.
So actually, that's how Simon and I first originally know each other. Is we were content creators about Amsterdam.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he was telling me that that you knew each other through work, but I wasn't sure what kind of work exactly.
Yeah, and we also did a radio. Used to appear on a radio show a lot as well. And so through there.
Right. Very cool. Alicia, do you want to tell everyone what you're doing on the Woolshift Dust feed?
Yes, sure. So we are wrapping up the Beacon 23 coverage. So the last two episodes actually are going to drop on the 17th. So we're going to be recording it, and I'm going to be getting out that final episode as the holidays allow. And also there will be holiday specials around the It's a Wonderful Life to the new movie It's a Wonderful Knife multiverse of movies.
Oh, nice.
I'm calling it. And then on the book club, Abby and I have recorded our shift breakdown, so I'm editing that to get out, and then obviously we'll be continuing with Dust and the Silo stories and the rewatch.
Cool. Really looking forward to it. Over on Properly Howard, you can find their full season of remakes that they covered. Howard the Duck, White Man Can't Jump, RoboCop, all the fun stuff. On the Severance feed, which is also in the show notes, and you can find Woolshift Dust in the show notes as well, you will find their coverage of season 1, which I think they're almost done with. And then we will be joining them for season 2, so make sure you go subscribe to that. As far as the Lorehounds, this is coming out shortly after we record it. So other things coming out in December just to tie off the year. We don't have anything weekly coverage right now just because of the way that the scheduling worked out. But we have a podcast on Skyrim, a podcast on Hogfather by Terry Pratchett, which is kind of a fun Christmas book that is very British. If you like Doctor Who, you'll probably like that. And we have our Second Breakfast top 10 rankings, which I know, Alicia, you and I are going to record your rankings right after this. Very exciting for that.
And we have Rebel Moon breakdown coming up when that comes out on Netflix.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You guys are doing a lot of stuff lately that I'm not even that I don't even go on. So plenty of stuff coming on the feed.
You are always welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Rebel Moon makes me very nervous because of who's involved. But maybe I'll come on the next one.
But now with the negative, there's some negative backlash, and I'm prepared to like it now, just to be contrary.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Really quickly, I just want to thank our Patreon lore masters. They are Samartian, Cyrus, Mark H, Michael G, Michelle E, David W, Brian P, Nick W, SC, Peter OH, Bettina W, Adam S, Nancy M, Lavinia T, Duve 71, Brian 8063, Frederick H, Sarah L, Gareth C, Eric F, Matthew M, Sarah M, DJ Miwa, Andra B, Kwang Yu, Laura G, Deadeye Jedi Bob, Nathan T, Alex V, Aaron T, Sub-Zero, Aaron K, and Adrian. Thank you all so much, and thank you to all our patrons for helping support the show and helping us do fun things like the Doctor Who anniversary. Helps us justify taking time to talk about all this nerdy stuff. So thank you again. You can always go to patreon.com/thelorehounds if you want to get ad-free content and bonus episodes for as little as $3 a month. Until next time, pleasure speaking with Alicia and Simon.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
The Lorehounds podcast is produced and published by The Lorehounds. You can send questions and feedback and voicemails at thelorehounds.com/contact. Get early and ad-free access to all Lorehounds podcasts at patreon.com/thelorehounds. Any opinions stated are ours personally and do not reflect the opinion of or belong to any employers or other entities. Thanks for listening.